Hello, this is April from LearnDoBecome.com, and I hope you are ready for a treat today. If you have children and you want to learn how to manage things and how to make your home calm and peaceful and happy by getting more parenting skills into your toolbox, this podcast is for you. We are bringing on one of my dearest friends, Amy McCready. She's the founder of Positive Parenting Solutions. She is solid. I have been learning from her for more than a decade, and hands down, it's her work that has helped me to be able to parent without yelling, without nagging. We've had peace in our home. It's been awesome. And I just want to take you right into the podcast so you can experience it for yourself. I'm so excited she's here and hope you enjoy it as well. All right. So excited to have one of my best friends, Amy. Thank you for being here, Amy.
April, thank you so much for having me. I was thinking today, we have known each other for so many years.
So long.
Like when both of our kids were younger kids, and we started out as online friends, and we've been friends all these years. So it's such a privilege to be here.
And we've had so many requests for you to come. In fact, one of our team members has been following your stuff, and she said, "Can you please get Amy McCready to come on the podcast?" Aww. And so we have just been, when I announced to the team I was going to interview you, there was shouts of hooray. We're so excited because this is something that, while we talk about getting organized and building a command central and things like that at Learn, Do, Become, as we've launched our Arise program, one of the key parts of that is building strong relationships, having a strong family, being able to have, and we also talk about having a calm, uplifting environment. And if you want your environment to be calm and uplifting, if you're yelling at your family all the time, it's not going to feel that way.
Yeah, and that kind of undermines that, doesn't it?
Well, I was just talking with a friend the other day and she said, "Oh, your house is so quiet and calm." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it is. Our kids are kind of growing up, they're not around as much." And she just said, "It's just hard here because we're just always the kids are yelling at each other and then I'm yelling at them." And I'm saying, I get it. We 100%. And what I think is fun about this podcast today, we're going to offer some tools and some specific things that our community members can use with their children or grandchildren or to help their neighbors. We're coming to it from a place of we've been there. We were the ones yelling and out of control and stressed beyond our minds because we're trying to do a good job. So I would love to just turn it over to you for maybe just some initial thoughts to frame what we're going to talk about today. And then we'll just jump into some of the tips.
Oh, that sounds great. And the other thing that I just love is that everything that you do and everything that we do are so beautifully aligned, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're home, there's a sense of order in your home, and there's a sense of order in your parenting and your family life. Like that all just works together so well, and you almost can't have one without the other. So, to your point, I'm just so glad that you've invited me, and so grateful for all of our listeners today. We're just going to talk about strategies that I think is going to make parenting easier, right? It's just, sometimes it feels so hard and parents are so hard on themselves. And, we just put so much pressure on ourselves to just do it right. And the thing about your community, I know after all these years, is all of your parents are so intentional, right? They're doing your work in your program because they're so intentional about their families. So my hope is that at the end of this podcast, that parents will have just some very concrete, actionable strategies that they can start using today or tonight, whenever they're listening, and really start to see results right away.
I love it. And I do have to share a quote from my daughter, Aaliyah. This is what I sent to you in the email. I said, "I heard Aaliyah telling her friend the other day about how I was always so nice when she was misbehaving." Okay. Now, the good thing is I found you. I think Aaliyah was 10. So she doesn't remember anything before that, unfortunately. But she said, "My mom followed all the Amy McCready stuff. And when I was mean to my siblings, she would say, 'Now let's talk about how you're feeling.' And I would be so frustrated because I had no other choice than to calm down." So it was so funny where she said, my mom was just so calm and everything was calm. But, it's true. You helped me. And I'm just going to share my testimonial right up front. I went through Amy's entire program, and we'll, link to it on the show notes page. You can find all about it at Positive Parenting Solutions. But I went through her entire program studiously, and it wasn't that long, but I went through it and learned what she's teaching, and she'll share some of these ideas today in the podcast. But when I invested that time, it took all the stress off my shoulders of trying to come up with some creative idea in the moment, unique to that situation, because I'd never experienced before. And she just brought this calmness where I didn't even feel like I wanted to yell. And I can maybe count on my fingers 3 times I've yelled in the past 15 years. And I mean, that's pretty good because Amy's made such a difference. So anyway,
thank you for that.
Family, you totally changed our family. And anyway, so, okay. I adore you. So let's just imagine that there's a parent right now who's like, guys, I'm in the middle of chaos. I don't even know where to start. Yeah, maybe I'll do a program in the future, but right now I don't even have time for a program. I've got just issues right this minute. Okay. So let's just talk about some things we can do right now. Where would you start?
Well, I always start with the very first tool in our toolbox, which you know so well, which is called Mind, Body, and Soul Time. And let me just sort of give some background information for why this tool is so important. Because when we're so frustrated with behavior, like that frustrating behavior, whether it's tantrums or whining or not listening or backtalk or whatever it is, that is happening for a reason, right? All behavior is telling us something. Mm-hmm. And very often that misbehavior is related to the child's attention bucket maybe not being filled proactively on a consistent basis. Maybe it's their power bucket isn't being filled up. We can talk about what kind of positive power means, but these are like basic hardwired needs that all human beings have. Mm-hmm. And for kids, like if we're not filling their attention bucket proactively or their power bucket proactively, they don't come to us and say, you know, Mom, I'm not feeling like you're fully present with me. I'm not feeling like you're filling my attention bucket. And as a result, I'm acting out in these annoying ways, right? Like they don't even know that's happening, why that's happening. But what happens is, you know, we see that misbehavior. So the first and most important tool that I always talk about is Mind, Body, and Soul Time, because it meets their hardwired, non-negotiable needs for attention and positive power. So Mind, Body, and Soul Time is simply that time, like 10 or 15 minutes, once or twice a day, when you are fully present in mind, body, and soul. So it's one parent and one child, because family time is awesome, but it's not the same as one parent, one child, you filling their attention bucket. Mm-hmm. You are fully present during that 10 or 15 minutes. So your phone isn't anywhere. You're not running through your to-do list in your mind. You're fully present in mind, body, and soul. And here's the kicker. You're doing what the child wants to do, right? Because so much of the day, our communication is parent directed. Please stop doing this. Have you done your homework? Please turn off the iPad. Like we're constantly ordering, correcting, and directing in a very parent directed way. So this is like that 1 or 2 times a day where they actually get to call the shots and do what they want to do. And when we spend that time, that 10 or 15 minutes with each of our kids on a daily basis, it is like a miracle happens. And I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but it is practically a miracle, just the change in behavior that you see from your kids, because they start being more cooperative, you have less back talk, the energy is more positive and easygoing. Like just everything gets so much easier in your family by starting with that one tool. Now I'm going to stop talking and let you talk.
I think that's awesome. I'm thinking, I know what I thought initially when I heard this was, Amy, I don't have time for that. And the reason why I felt it initially is because I had 4 children, and I'm thinking 10 to 15 minutes a day. Even if I did that once a day, that's an hour a day. I'm not even sleeping very much. We're trying to build a business. I'm exhausted. The kids are. So I have some ways I implemented it when I felt like I had no time. But what do you first say to people? Because I know you hear this all the time.
I hear that all the time. And here, I'm going to say the same thing that you say to your students about implementing routines. Yeah. You're already investing that time, right? From a routine standpoint, you can either spend the time sort of setting up your routines, or you spend the time in chaos looking at things that you forgot about, and, you know, looking for the kids' homework, like all that nonsense.
Good
so you
analogy.
Are spending the time. And that's what's happening with our parenting. I guarantee that parents are spending at least 10 minutes a day reminding kids what they're supposed to do, fussing about, you know, what they're not doing, you know, just dealing with backtalk, dealing with whining, tantrums, whatever. You are already spending that time. And what happens is that when you invest the positive time in mind, body, and soul time, all that negative stuff starts to fall off the radar. So you're not spending all of this time on those negative behaviors. It's just kind of like they just go away practically magically. But that's what I would say about the time thing. What do you think?
I love that. Well, and I think there's a little transition period where maybe you might start the mind, body, and soul time, but there's still a habit to have that contention. So it might take, there's, going to be transition time. You're not going to expect that one day you do it, all of a sudden you're going to feel like all this time disappeared. I think it does definitely happen over time. The other part is that I found that it naturally started coming just from when the children would say something. Like, for example, right now, I only have one child at home, but he's almost 14. He loves cars so much. I can't even have a conversation that doesn't come back to a car. So he wants to show me, I want to see this wide body kit of this thing. And here's this guy on YouTube who does these things with cars. And he already naturally has things he wants to tell me. Or I have a son who loves music. And anytime I see him, he's just started college and started working. He says, Mom, I want to play this song for you that I really like. Now, what I would have done prior to that is said, oh, yeah, that's a nice car. Or, oh, that song, it's kind of nice. Not really my style. Let's go do something, right? Like I would kind of brush it off because my brain was consumed with other things. But just being aware and thinking, oh, hang on, ding, ding, ding. This is mind, body, and soul time. I don't have to go think of it as a task. It's more like just being receptive and saying, oh, let me look at that car. Yeah, let's sit down and talk about it. What do you like about it? And you're not even labeling it for them because you don't need to make it sound like, okay, everyone comes sit down at the dining room table and now we're having mind, body, and soul time. It's just kind of subtle behind the scenes. So that's kind of a first idea.
Yeah. And I do want to touch on that labeling thing, because that is actually quite important. Maybe not for teenagers, but for younger kids, it really is quite important that they know that this is their time. So you can call it mommy and me time, daddy and Jason time. You can call it mind, body, and soul time. It doesn't matter what you call it, but it's really important that it be labeled. So it kind of checks that box in their mind. Like, yep, she filled my attention bucket. She filled my power bucket. And it really makes a difference. The other thing that I recommend is that you put it on a schedule. So whether if you have little kids, you put it in picture format. Older kids, you just write it out, but they know when they're going to get mind, body, and soul time. So, generally after lunch, we have special time. After dinner, sometime it may be at bedtime. Like that may be the only time you can do it, and that's okay. But you label it. It's one parent, one child, when you're fully present in mind, body, and soul, doing what the child wants to do. And I'm going to say, like you said, it takes a while. I am telling you, we have customers that tell us all the time. It's like the next day, 2 days after that, after they start that process, they see like a measurable change in their kids' behavior.
Yeah, so, no, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm thinking when our children were younger, I did label it, but I was still kind of stressed time-wise, I will say. So I don't think I did it perfectly, but I will say even my imperfect efforts yielded amazing results. So, but sometimes we did do, I told them mind, body, and soul time. And I set up an hour for an evening, and we rotated every 15 minutes because my husband was gone. And they would come in my room and we would do something for 15 minutes, and they would, we would take that time. So I think or when we do dates too, we would have these monthly dates that we would do. Those were super fun too. What's funny with my teenagers is I always say, hey guys, I want to do this thing. Like, let's bond together. I always say it's time to go bond. And they're like, Mom, if you call it bonding, it doesn't count. We just have to do it naturally. So my kids have kind of directed it where they just, I think the principle we're coming to is our children need to know that they matter to us and that they're a priority in our time and our attention and our love. And I even found two other things I'll just add. One is that I found if our schedule was too busy that we legitimately did not have time to sit down, then we needed to take some things out of our schedule. So my kids didn't do a ton of extracurriculars just because I didn't have the energy, and I had some health problems, and I'm like, I just can't take you everywhere all the time. So we slowed things down a lot, and they still are able to be successful in college and working. Like, it's okay. They didn't all need to go play, a sport or whatever. They did play sports, but I didn't have to have everyone in something all the time. And then the second thing is that I just even noticed softening my approach where I felt like I was open to mind, body, and soul time whenever we were together. Like I just tried to make it that. So let's say a child would walk in the kitchen. I would try to look at them and just think, oh, let's just enjoy this time together. And we did a lot of housework together. We would cook together. We'd fold laundry together. And I just thought of all of that as we're working in mind, body, soul. I just focused on that. And so even though I didn't always have it labeled and sitting down, and it wasn't always formal, it wasn't on the schedule, we found that our natural day-to-day practice was just being together. And all of us are like, we're all super close, and we haven't had behavior issues with the kids. I mean, of course we have issues with every family, but they've never talked back. There's no yelling. Like, our home is peaceful while we talk about problems, but that love and that willingness to like invest in them. I think that it's going to look a little different for every family. Yeah. But that's what's important, I think.
Yeah. And I think too, I would encourage our listeners to have the short-term goal to be to improve behavior, because that's your pain point right now, right? Like, you have back talk, you have fights over bedtime or technology or whatever. So do this, like, just, take a leap of faith with me and say, okay, if I do this for a week, let's see what happens. And do I see an improvement in behavior? And I want to make one point about the schedule. So I'm a big advocate of putting it on a schedule, just to hold yourself accountable, but also to show your kids that, like, this is like one of the most important things in your day, is spending time with them. And that really sends a powerful signal, but don't feel stressed about that. So like, if things are crazy one day and you can't do your mind, body, and soul time right after dinner, you can be like, oh, bummer, we didn't get to do this tonight. Let's make sure that we do it tomorrow night. And let's decide now what we're going to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you reinforce that this is really important. So the short-term win for you is, so we can really solve some of these behavior problems that are taking up so much of your time and so much of your mental energy. And then sort of the longer term outcome is exactly what you described. Kids who come to you and are excited to be with you and feel that closeness with you. That's the long-term win. So it really kind of checks all those boxes for us from a parenting perspective.
Yeah, I love that. And I think building that ideal in place and then doing it in a way that you don't feel guilty or stressed. That's not the point. No. We're not trying to add more to someone's list, but I think that it's true when your children see, hey, I'm on the calendar, or, oh, this is like part of what we do all the time as a family, that does build them into them that confidence. And I think that's beautiful. I want to talk about the win then a little bit, because I think this was game changing. And you have so many things that I'm remembering back. Like, there are so many times I was like, thank you, Amy McCready. I can't even tell you, but the win then was huge for me. So can you explain when people would use that and what that's for?
Yes. So when then is used when we need the child to do something that they're not doing. All right. So a couple of examples in your house, April, might be what? Like they haven't done their family jobs. What else? What else might happen in or thinking back to when your kids were younger?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is where I know screen time, we're going to talk about technology too, because there is obviously a screen time thing. And I've heard a lot of debate on whether you use screen time as a reward or as you don't make it like the dessert. Cause I get that. We don't want to make screen time seem like the end all be all. But a lot of times they're like, oh, can I go outside to play with my friends? Or can I show you this thing on the computer? Or can we, eat this snack or whatever? Like, there's things that they would want to do. Yeah. And I'm a very organized person. So I like to say, and I really like the word recalibrate. So let's say we're getting home from something and everyone's just thrown all their stuff. If we don't pick it up right then, it's probably going to stay there until the next day. So we would, we try to move things along, but
sure. Yeah. And so what I would encourage parents to do is make a list, like right after the show, and make a list of those things that you're constantly reminding your kids about. So it might be getting ready in the morning when you have a schedule, right? Like they've got to get on the bus or to carpool. We've got getting ready in the morning, maybe cleaning up their dishes after dinner, getting their homework done, getting their family jobs done, those things that you are constantly reminding your kids about. So put those down on a list. Then we're going to take each one of those and we're going to turn it into a when-then routine. So for example, doing the family jobs, like who wants to do family jobs? That's a total drag. So we always turn that into a when-then routine. So when your family jobs are done, then you can enjoy your technology time. Okay. It's not a reward. It's just, we assume that, say, you're allowing 30 minutes of technology time, or you normally go to the park on Saturday mornings or whatever. It's a normally allowed privilege. It's not a treat or a bribe. It's something you would normally allow. But you use that sort of as leverage to get the yucky stuff done. So when you finish your family jobs, then we'll leave for the park. When you've finished your homework, and I've checked it, if like that's appropriate for your kid's age, when you finished your homework and I've checked it, then we'll leave for soccer practice.
And I think I even used it just when you can speak to me in a calm, soft voice, then we're going to be able to move forward with our day. Yeah. Like there were a lot of times where I would just need to help them calm down, or and I think it's just become such a natural way of what we've done, where we're taking our dog on a walk, or we're doing just basic activities. Like we try to make the family jobs as fun as possible. Like, okay, we're going to turn on some music and empty the dishwasher together. And we're going to do a quick tidy of the downstairs together. And I try to do like the working together as much as possible, because I find they get excited. But I did have one experience with a win-then this past week that made me laugh. So our son got a haircut and he doesn't think he needs to brush his hair anymore, because he thinks it's fine to just like throw it over. I don't know, he's just funny. And so but then at the back, it's not looking good. And he had, some school picture anyway. So I had charged his phone and his, they gave Chromebooks at school. I charged it in my room and I brought it in the morning and I was holding it. And he said, oh, hey, I'll take that, and put it in my backpack. And I said, oh, that's fine. When your hair is brushed, I'll hand it to you. And he's like, Mom, my hair doesn't need to be brushed. I'm like, well, I think it does. And I'll hand these to you when your hair is brushed. So he went upstairs, he got his hair all brushed and came down, and I handed it to his wife. And so it was just funny how, yes, I'm not trying to be totally controlling on how my son wears his hair and everything. I let him pick his haircut and his style, but I'm like, you got to get yourself dressed, and we're going to not wear wrinkled clothes, and we're going to just present ourselves nicely. Yeah.
There's certain non-negotiables of civilized society, right? That we're going to adhere to.
Like we shower, right? Yeah. I mean, I even have to add the showering. I didn't with the girls, with the boys, I had to remind them, how it goes. And so anyway, I think that's been just so nice, because it just feels natural, right?
Yeah. And there, you can use when-then in two ways. So the first one is an in the moment when-then, just for a situation that comes up, right? When your shoes are on, like if he's dilly-dallying in the morning and we need to get moving for the bus, when you put your shoes on and your backpack is ready to go, then we can have some special time together before you have to leave for the bus, right? Yeah, it's sort of like to get them moving, get them motivated on the yucky stuff by the normally allowed sort of thing that is going to follow. That's one way to do it, in the moment when-thens. And then there's the when-then routines. So I am such a believer in all of our routines being set up in a when-then fashion. So in the morning, when you're dressed, your hair is combed, your bed is made, your backpack and lunchbox are by the door, then we'll have breakfast. Right? Yucky stuff happens before the fun stuff. Or when all those things are done, then we'll have some stories and snuggles time before you leave for the bus. After school, when the homework is done, your family job is completed, and I've inspected, then we'll leave for practice. Yeah, okay, which always begs the question. Really, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Keep on.
I was going to say, which always begs the question, like, okay, it's 4:45 and we need to be leaving for lacrosse practice, but the stuff isn't done. What are you going to do? Right? That's the rubber hits the road parenting moment. So you can get all frantic and I told you, and we've got to go and like do all that, crazy yelling mom thing. Or you can say, when everything is done on your list, then we'll leave for practice. And that might mean that he's late. Right?
Yeah.
And so what happens? He has to have a conversation with the coach about why he's late.
Yeah.
Are you going to miss out on that learning opportunity for your kids? That would be a crime, right? So we're afraid to let the natural consequences play out, right? Because you don't want to look like a slacker parent. But what a valuable learning opportunity for him to have to tell the coach that he's going to be late, or why he was late. So we have to, if we're going to put these strategies in place, we have to have the courage to let the natural consequences play out if they don't get the stuff done before the whatever thing they want to go to or whatever that happens to be.
Well, I mean, that goes back to an even deeper issue of how many activities or how many things are our children doing because we want them to do them versus they want to do them. And that's something that we had to learn, as our children grew older. Yeah, if we're trying to push our agendas too much on them, it's just the burden's always going to go to us. And so sometimes it's hard because you think, well, but maybe the children don't have the perspective to know how important it is to do some of these extracurriculars, or they haven't applied to a college before and they don't understand how this is going to help them years in the future. And so it is tricky, but that's something that we're learning is how to help guide our children into the areas that they actually do want to be there. They want that it matters to them. Because if I sign them up for too many things that didn't matter to them, it was just like, all right. And I mean, I won't say which child or which experience, but there was one point where I wasn't sure if a particular child was going to graduate high school. I wasn't sure if that was a desire. And so I had to just step back and say, okay, if you miss school, and so we had to set up a win then type of thing, or kind of a consequence, like, if you don't want to go to school, that's fine, but you'll need to get your GED later. If that's what you want, like, I can't make you walk into a school. And, it all worked out, but I had to take away that desire to control everything. It's hard not to be in control of it all.
Oh my goodness. You said so many things in that little monologue there. So like first, the whole overscheduling thing, I will say that was one thing that we were really guilty of, because our kids did all kinds of sports and music and all that kind of stuff. And if I were doing it over, I would have them doing way less. And there's just so much more research now on the anxiety that kids are experiencing, depression. And, to your point, they might need these things for getting into college and all of that, but goodness, at what cost, right? Like how much pressure they feel. We don't intend to put pressure on them, of course, but they feel that. So that would be my encouragement to parents, is to really kind of cut back on those extracurriculars. And then the whole like letting go, that is the hardest thing for us all to do. Oh my goodness. But again, like if you think about I was talking about the long game of parenting, right? Like the long game of parenting is taking these people who are completely dependent on us and coaching them, guiding them to the point where they are completely independent from us, right? And the only way that is going to happen is if we let go of the reins, a little bit at first, but then more and more. But I think the tendency is, especially when they get into the older years and things feel scarier, we pull back, right? Like we want to completely control everything out of our fear. And it's just hard. Parenting is hard.
But I feel so good. Eric and I have had, I'm not kidding. We have probably spent 1,000 or 2,000 hours just talking about this concept because we were facing it for years and years. But the final thing that we've come to is anytime we feel like it's so stressful. I mean, of course, when they're like 2 and 3 and you're like, oh, it's time for you to go here and we got to go to the doctor. I mean, yes, you're going to kind of pick your children up and, there's things that aren't optional, right? But as they start getting older and older, we just found if we were carrying the burden of making all the decisions for them, we were robbing them of the chance to grow. And so we had some non-negotiables of things that, hey, this is what's required, but for the most part, we backed off and they got to be their choice. And I'll just say, I mean, just one quick story that's made a huge difference. Our daughter, Aaliyah, just got married a couple weeks ago, and we gave her a budget and said, here's your wedding budget. And it's a nice, generous budget. She could have a very nice wedding. But we said, you get to decide anything you want to spend. And anything you don't spend, you get to keep, and you guys can just use it to start your life together. And so we have another reception this coming Friday. I have no idea what it's going to look like at all. She's hired someone to help her. And as a friend who's majoring in event planning, she figured out how to budget. She's borrowing some tablecloths. She decided she wants to keep it very simple. And because she's like, oh, I'd rather us have the money as we're getting ready to move forward in schooling and stuff. And so she's making a nice wedding, but I haven't made any decisions. It's all been her. And so there was no fighting. There's been not one argument. It's just, she gets to decide, and
Yeah.
putting everything in their court. Oh, it's just like, it just takes the weight off your shoulders.
It totally does. So let's talk about how our listeners can apply that concept for younger kids.
Okay.
So the first example is like giving them a budget, right? Like when our kids are young, like middle school, like they need all these new school supplies.
Yeah.
So give them the budget, and they have the school supply list, and they can buy everything, and whatever they're able to, save, they get to pocket that.
Yeah.
Give them, certainly by early high school, 9th grade, they can have a clothing budget for the year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so whether or not you're going to spend, $180 on a pair of jeans, like if your parents are buying them, I want the $180 pair of jeans.
Yeah.
If I'm taking that out of my clothing budget, that's a completely different decision.
Right.
So I'm a huge believer in giving them. So we give kids an allowance, right? Because they're probably not out working and making enough money to
they need some spending money or something like that.
Yeah. So we're going to give them the money, but like, think about, okay, how much do you spend on snacks during the month? For, older elementary kids, you can give them a snack budget for the month. So we don't stop every day on the way home from practice to get a Frosty, right?
Yeah.
Like that comes out of their budget. So as kids get older, we give them more and more allowance, and then they're responsible for more and more of their expenditures and making those decisions. So that's kind of a way that you can do that for teaching, financial responsibility, but also it's a great way to manage power struggles. So the kid says, I'm not going to school today. I'm not going to do my homework. And you could say, okay, what is your plan for letting Mrs. Jones know that you're not going to be turning in your homework? Right? Put it on the kid's shoulder. You don't have to rant and rave about it. What is your plan for letting the coach know that you're going to be late? Most kids don't want to call and have that conversation, right?
Right.
So, pardon me. We always talk about the concept of who owns the problem.
Yeah.
And so often the parent owns the problem. When we let the kid own the problem, then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I really don't want to have that conversation with the school principal or my teacher or the coach. And they're going to be like, okay, I'll just get this stuff done. So, I mean, that's a fabulous strategy that you just mentioned.
Well, I think it's all of these things that I've learned through your courses, through your programs, and making their decision. One of my other favorites, and I want to talk a little more technology before we close up, but one of my favorites was when you were saying, if you're driving in the car and if they're just fighting and fussing and that type of thing. And that was my problem all the time. So I was going to take care of my mom each week. We were driving an hour each way, and there was always fighting and yelling. And you said, you just pull over and you bring a book and you just sit there and say, yeah, we'll just go ahead and keep going, when you guys are ready, and making it their decision. Now, it is hard sometimes if you've got like, oh, I've got to be somewhere or do something. And so the way we did it, if I had to be somewhere at a certain time, is they would earn like 10 minutes to just sit there once we got there. Like once we arrive, like we're going swimming, you can sit outside the pool for 10 minutes and just wait until that time's done. And then you can, get in the pool. But they'd had to have some kind of waiting that had to go back on them, where it wasn't on me to try to yell and fuss and fight in the car. And we only had to pull over twice off the freeway, and I would just sit there, and then they're like, oh, we better be nice in the car. We just have to sit there. So you really helped me to be able to help put it on their shoulders. It's going to be your responsibility to figure out how to do this. And you helped me take myself out of the equation, that's hard for me to do too.
Yeah. And that strategy is just golden for parents, because it's kind of a modified win-win, isn't it? But I just want to mention a couple quick things to make that strategy most effective. So it's called pull over and wait. So first you want to warn your kids in advance. So at home one night, you're like, remember today when we were going to the park and there was all that fighting? Well, that's actually not safe for me to drive when you guys are fighting. So I want to let you know how we're going to handle things in the future. So if I hear fighting in the car, I'm not going to yell at you or anything. I'm just going to pull over to the side of the road, just like you said, and I'm going to wait. And so here's the win then. When I hear quiet, then we'll go on to the park, right? Or when I hear quiet, then we'll go wherever we were going. This works best if you're going somewhere that the kids care about.
They want to go. Right.
So when you first start this strategy, make sure it's somewhere they want to go. It's not like you going to your doctor's appointment where you have a time conflict, right?
Right.
But you only have to do that a couple of times, and they're like, oh yeah. And you just wait very calmly. You may even have to get out of the car, stand by the car, have a book, whatever. But like you said, it's not on your shoulders. You remain completely unfazed.
Yeah. No,
I'm
we
fine.
even did
Whatever you guys
that.
decide. When I hear quiet, then we'll get
Yeah.
going.
We lived near Disneyland for a long time. And so if we went to Disneyland and they were fighting, some parents I have heard say, if you fight one more time, we're going home. And I'm like, oh, that was a lot of work to get here. I don't want to go home just because they're fighting, So I would say, okay, if they were started fighting, we would just pull over and find a bench and we would just sit there on the bench. And I'd say, we'll just sit here until it's quiet.
Yeah.
And then they would be like, well, I want to go on rides or I want to do something. And so they would, and so just that little thing, because yeah, it's difficult. It's hard when you're stressed. You got somewhere you want to go. You're trying to navigate. You're trying to drive. Okay. So
Wait, can I say one other quick thing? I'm sorry. I keep interrupting with all these other suggestions. So we were just talking there for a moment about sibling rivalry. The one thing that I just want to link back to is the mind, body, and soul time.
Yeah.
Okay. So my friends who are listening, I am telling you, when you start mind, body, and soul time and you're doing it on a daily basis, you will have less sibling rivalry. Because so much of that is competition for your attention. And so when you're giving that to them positively and proactively on a consistent basis, that I'm not saying it's going to all go away, but I'm telling you, you will see a measurable difference in that. Okay, let's talk technology.
Yeah, no, and then just one more thing on that. I love how you always taught me to say, hey, I've noticed that this has been happening. So then I taught my children how to speak to each other that way and say, hey, I noticed that sometimes when I loan you my clothes, you don't give them back, or I noticed this. And so we would practice and I would give them language to use and how to be able to express their concerns. And anyway, we did a lot of role playing, but it worked. And now they don't fight. Now you're older and they all get along, and it's just not an issue anymore. And so I have to think back to all those years that were just constant, upset about something and who got to sit where and who got to do things. And so we did a lot of systems and charts, and we had a who got to sit where in the car chart, and we rotated.
Absolutely.
And we had, just anything to try to just stop the fighting before it happened. How do we have that decision? Okay. So for the last few minutes we have together, I just want your top tips on technology, because technology is taking over the world. Most children have some kind of either a Chromebook or a laptop or something that they have to use for school. The schools are giving them out now. Yep. A lot of kids have smartphones. It's just becoming more and more common, and it's so common for children to sneak screens, try to be on a screen 100% of the time, always going from screen to screen to screen to screen. They don't even know how to count their screen time because there's so many devices. You can't even keep track of it. Just give us I know your program goes more into depth on this, but give us a few tips to start.
Yeah, because I can teach on this topic for days. But here would be sort of the top tips on technology. We totally have to do a mindset shift on this. Technologies are part of our life and they're great, and that's fine. However, I use the analogy you wouldn't let your kid go to the playground and play unattended and just for as long as he wants, right? We would never do that in a million years. However, we kind of let our kids do that in the sort of technology playground on the internet, right? So we have to remember that we are the parents, and it is our responsibility, because we are responsible for their health and safety and well-being, to manage this. And we also, the other analogy is, if your kids wanted to play with knives, would you let them? No, right? Because it's not safe. Or matches. No. Okay. They aren't going to like it that you're going to manage the technology, but that's okay. That is your job. All right. And the biggest thing that I hear from parents is I can't implement that because I can't deal with the wrath of my kids.
Yeah.
You will get wrath, right? But we have to do it because we are responsible for their health and safety and well-being. Second thing is, technology is a privilege, not a right. All right. So they need technology for schoolwork. Yes. But that's it. Right. Any other technology that they get is absolutely a privilege, and it should only be allowed as part of a win-then routine.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you are given technology access willy-nilly, you're totally blowing the opportunity as parents, right?
And
so technology always comes when the family jobs are done, then you get your tech time. When, what all those wins that we've talked about that you remind your kids to do, we leverage those as part of a win-then routine with access to technology. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No. Because I've had to be super vigilant about this. And sometimes I felt like I was putting more energy into this than I wanted to, but I felt like it's like knives and matches. This literally is their lives at stake. And while of course they can just go to a friend's house and they can just use their friend's technology, or even if I don't send them to school with a smartphone, the kid on the bus next to them has one or has an extra one they're going to send home with them to try to get on our Wi-Fi in the middle of the night. I mean, it's like constant vigilance. And so a couple things is like I have a friend, Andrea Davis, who runs betterscreentime.com, and she talks about making a tech plan with your family. She has a whole booklet on it. I'll link to it in the show notes because she's got so much good stuff. She's helping families have these conversations. And so we'll like look at the schedule for the day and say, and sometimes when they come home from school and they're like, hey, I'd love to have my screen time, have some downtime. And for like, we do an hour of screen time a day. I'd love to do my screen time and then I'm going to do my homework at that point. Hey, if it's been a long day and they just want to do that, I'm fine with that. Like, but we have the discussion first. But I've had to take remote controls, every device. I have hiding places. We even have a safe. We like locked them away in the safe where I treat them like a gun, like a knife, like I would treat something that could cause, but I found that, while of course I can't control every aspect of it. I can't control what they do at school or at the library or wherever, because literally there's access to screens in every public place that you send your children. Like there's always a computer lab. There's always some teacher who's willing to let all the kids come in during lunch and do, I mean, I think it's impossible if you're in a public school system or if you're in just a public place that has a public library. It's impossible to keep your children off a screen as long as they have friends. But I think the conversations, the vigilance at home, the checking bedrooms middle of the night, whatever it's going to take, like, I think that's worth my best effort just to, and putting the things in place, the software in place, the things in place, all that I can to protect it, because I'm not willing to just hand it over. I've just seen too many cases where it goes really badly. So, I mean, you don't think I'm a crazy militant mom.
You're not. But here's the other thing too, is it is the source of so many power struggles for so many families. And we've got to solve that. And especially, over the past year and a half, everybody is using technology more than they have, including our kids. And so we have to rein that in. And so a couple of things that you mentioned. First, the systems that will, the internet is down in our house between these hours. Yeah. Period. We have systems that when your homework is done, then you get your technology. Now, again, if it works for you to be like, okay, I want my tech beforehand and then I'll do homework. If that works, great. But if you're having power struggles, that tells you that it's not working. And so we can't do that. We have to follow the when then process. Yeah. We don't charge phones in the rooms, right? Like I need it as my alarm clock. No, go to Target, get an old school alarm clock. You'll be fine. But we charge those in the central charging stations. And then we have, a really concrete technology contract and consequences that play out if it's not followed. Again, we cover all that in our program. But I guess, the main point that I want to make here is you are the parent and you are in charge of this. Like, don't get bullied by your kids because they don't like it. Just because they don't like it doesn't mean it's not the right thing for you to do.
Right. And I think there's a lot of improvements, I think, now in some software and in some of the things you can do. We did have a period of time where it was only flip phones that were allowed, or like there's different phones now that don't have internet or don't have apps, but we can set app limits and things like that. But I also go in and check the battery on the phone because sometimes there's ways to work around something that's downloaded that's not going to count for time. The kids have so many ways now to hack and get around. And so what I found is I can't drive myself crazy trying to come up with every possibility of how they can hack and start phones and all the things that they can do. But having these conversations to teach, to encourage, to share my values, to talk about how I model how I use my screen. I tell my kids at any point, you could look at all the history on my phone, anything I ever do. And I never look at a site that would take me to a place I don't want to be. Yes. I'm using my screen time well. And I show them, here's how many hours I was on my screen this week. And here's why I was on these apps. And here's when I do my work. And then I do this one because I like to do audiobooks. And I show them, here's apps that are really good. Here's some good ways to use screen time. And we try to build those expectations that, isn't it amazing what an amazing tool you can use? I mean, right now, people are probably listening to us on their phones, right? Like these phones are great.
And, we don't want to police technology, right?
Yeah.
And so the goal
Mhm.
is to do exactly what you said, like work with your kids, of course, be modeling
Yeah.
positive screen use, technology use, and then work with them so they can make good decisions.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you have a lot of sneaking, a lot of power struggles and things like that, then we do need to implement those external controls.
Yeah.
But the goal would be that, just like they learn to, drive a car eventually and like all these other things that are scary and have a high level of risk, we're sort of easing them into that. And so hopefully, while we're monitoring and recognizing what our job is, we're also helping them to make good decisions in that.
Yes. Okay. Well, and I know your program goes more into depth on this. I just want to give you a moment to just explain what your Positive Parenting Solutions program is. And I would buy it again. It's amazing. I've been in it. I've been through, I think, pretty much every module, maybe not the bonus ones you've added recently, but like every module. But just if people are thinking, okay, Amy, I need you in my pocket. I need more of this because I don't know how to handle some of these challenges. What does your program do? Or can you just give people a little sneak peek into that?
Yes. And thank you so much for asking. And thank you for being one of our community members for, oh my goodness, I don't even know how many years.
So long.
But a long time. Yeah. So our program is called the 7-Step Parenting Success System. And so each step, like within step 1, there are 7 like short little lessons. And in each lesson, you learn these different tools from our toolbox. So we have 36 tools in our toolbox. We say 36, but there's so much more because I'm always adding new tools. But you go through these very quick lessons, and that's where you learn the different discipline tools. So some of the tools are intended to like help you stop a particular power struggle you're having, or empower your kids to be more independent and capable, or to help you deal with yelling and some of those triggers that you're feeling. So there are different tools for different scenarios, but you go through the lessons, you learn each tool. With every tool that you learn, they kind of build on each other. So you get results from the very first one, then you add the next one and the next one, but you totally do it at your own pace, whatever feels comfortable for you. The videos are very short, so we designed it so busy parents can just go through at their own pace. So you go through the 7 steps. You have lifetime access, so you'll go through the 7 steps when your kids are 4, and again when they're 6, and like you're. Trust me, you'll constantly
the teen module over and over and over again.
Over and over. But then there's a lot of advanced modules that are very behavior specific. So if you're having trouble with bedtime battles, there's an entire advanced module with a step-by-step plan on that. If you're having trouble getting your kids out the door in the morning, technology battles,
the eating
battles.
Yes, eating was huge. And your solutions for that were so creative. Sorry, I'll stop. But
good.
So good.
I'm so glad.
Good.
But anyway, there's so many topics for like toddlers all the way up to teens on everything that you can imagine. Also topics for your adult relationships, like getting your partner on the same parenting page and communicating with your partner. Lots of things like that. So it is a soup to nuts, toddler to teen, basically everything that you're going to need for your parenting. And we give you lifetime access. Good. Oh, and there's also coaching too. So different levels.
Ask Amy calls or the coaching calls that you have.
Yeah, coaching calls. So you can get on the phone with me. Or one of our coaches, just like in your program, and just get a step-by-step plan for whatever behavior issue you're dealing with, and private Facebook communities, one for bigs, one for littles. Yeah. So just tons of resources, but we can put the link and everybody can go and take a look at it.
That'll be on our show notes page, and I'll mention it again in the outro. But the thing that I love about your program is that you give so many good ideas, and then each parent can adapt it to their unique situation. Yeah. So there's no stress or guilt. Oh, but I have to do it this way. Amy presents a really solid plan for you. And then you can take it and say, okay, well, I think I'm going to do it a little like this because I think this will work well with my personality or the way my husband and I work together, my spouse and I work together. It was so doable for me. And I tell you, I was so glad that I found you when I did, because we had our child that had the most tantrums. He was our 4th. And he's so great now, but we saw a child yesterday at the store who was having the biggest tantrum. And he turned to my husband and said, was I ever like that? And my husband goes, he wants to know if he was ever like that. We just had the best laugh because we're like, oh, you dear honey, you were all over the place. It was so hard. But because I had your strategies, I knew how to handle the tantrums. I was calm. I knew how to help him. like I was able to make it through without needing to spank or hit or yell. Like there was none of that. It was very hard still, but I was in control of myself and I was able to model. And I think that your children, when they're around calm parents who are in control, they feel more confident. And as they grow up, they become calm adults who are in control. And I love that. Like I couldn't have even guessed that I could have learned that. But anyway, it's amazing. Your program's amazing. Okay.
Well, thank you.
You're so great. Thank you so much. Any final words of encouragement you'd offer as we get ready to close up?
Oh my goodness. Well, I would just say to the mamas and the dads that are watching, just give yourself grace. You are going to have good days and bad days, and that is okay. We're always learning. When you mess up, go to your kids and ask for forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
And just know that you are doing a great job. You're an amazing mom, and just don't put all that pressure on yourself that we tend to do.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thanks for having me, April. You're so awesome. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
I hope you loved the podcast, and I hope you love Amy as much as I do. She honestly has been such a strength to our family. And if you want to learn more, she has a free class that you can access by going to learndobecome.com/PPS. That stands for Positive Parenting Solutions. That is one of our affiliate links. We don't recommend very many programs here at Learn, Do, Become, and I never recommend something that I haven't personally gone through. But I just want you to know this is the real deal. And if you've been stressed about parenting issues, or if you find yourself constantly just nagging and reminding and kids are whining and it's noisy and you're just fighting a lot, you can change that. And I hope that you love the resources that Amy has to offer. And I hope even this podcast with the wonderful tips that she shared right here, I hope that these things will make a difference for you. Sending a whole lot of love. Again, go to learndobecome.com/PPS. You can just sign up for her free training. And then all the show notes are at learndobecome.com/episode 123. Isn't that a fun number? Okay. Have a great day. See you soon at learndobecome.com.